There's a kind of pain no one ever warned you about. It's not grief or rejection or failure. It's the pain of being alive inside a version of yourself that's already gone, of operating you that expired long ago, but you keep running it anyway because you don't know what else would take its place. The strange part is no one talks about this, about the quiet discomfort of living in an identity that no longer fits, about the exhaustion of maintaining a self that isn't true anymore. And maybe that's what you're feeling right now, that subtle sense of being wrong inside, even when everything looks fine outside. Like every movement takes more effort than it should. Like life has become a kind of performance. But what if this pain isn't a sign that something's broken? What if it's just a signal that something new is trying to emerge? What happens when a mind wants stability, but consciousness demands transformation? And what do you do when a version of you that everyone knows no longer exists? Before we answer that, we need to understand one thing: why change hurts so much, and why, no matter how hard you try, staying the same is impossible. There's a kind of pain that has nothing to do with loss, nothing to do with failure or rejection or any external thing going wrong. It's the pain of still being here when part of you has already left. The pain of operating a version of yourself that expired months ago, maybe years ago, but you keep running it anyway because you don't know what else to do. And the strange part is nobody prepared you for this. You were taught about grief, about heartbreak, about disappointment, but nobody told you about the specific discomfort of outgrowing your own identity while still living inside it. The exhaustion of maintaining a self that no longer reflects anything true. Maybe that's what you're feeling right now. Not depression, not anxiety, not any of the things that have names and treatments. Just this persistent, low-level wrongness. Like wearing clothes that are slightly too tight. You can function, you can move through your day, but everything requires more effort than it should. Everything feels like performance, and you've probably tried to fix it. You've changed your routines, your environment, your habits. You've cut out toxic people, set boundaries, done the work everyone says you're supposed to do. And maybe some of it helped. Maybe you feel better in moments. But that underlying discomfort, that sense of being fundamentally misaligned, it doesn't go away because it's not something you did wrong. It's not something you failed to fix. It's your system telling you something that your mind doesn't want to hear. You can't stay the same. And every day you try to, every day you force yourself back into a shape that no longer fits, it's going to hurt. The mind hates this. The mind wants stability, predictability, a coherent narrative about who you are. It wants to believe that you figured yourself out at some point, and now you just get to be that person forever. That's the promise, right? Do enough self-discovery, enough therapy, enough inner work, and eventually you arrive at your true self, and then you're done. But consciousness doesn't work that way. Consciousness isn't a destination. It's not something you achieve and then maintain. It's a process that continues whether you participate in it or not. And when you try to freeze it, when you try to hold yourself in a fixed identity because that identity is comfortable or safe or socially acceptable, you create resistance. And that resistance is what hurts. Think about it. Every cell in your body replaces itself over time. Your skin, your bones, your organs, they're constantly dying and regenerating. You are literally not the same physical being you were 7 years ago, but somehow you're supposed to be the same psychological being, the same person with the same beliefs and the same preferences and the same way of seeing the world. It doesn't make sense, but you try anyway, because change is terrifying, because the unknown is worse than the discomfort of the known. Because at least right now, even if you're miserable, you know who you are. And that knowing, that certainty, feels more important than actually being aligned with whatever is trying to emerge. So you stay. You keep showing up as this version. You keep performing the same patterns, having the same conversations, making the same choices. And underneath it all, there's this growing pressure, this sense that something is trying to move through you and you won't let it. That something wants to die and you're forcing it to keep living. And that's what the pain is. It's not the pain of something being wrong with you. It's the pain of holding something in place that wants to dissolve. It's the pain of resistance, of trying to stay the same in a system designed for continuous transformation. But here's what makes it even more complicated. You're not just resisting for yourself. You're resisting for everyone around you. Because the people in your life, they have an investment in you staying recognizable. They built their understanding of reality partially around who you are to them. Your family has a role for you. Your friends have expectations. Your partner has needs that your current version of self meets. And if you change, if you actually let yourself evolve into whatever is trying to emerge, you destabilize all of that. You become unpredictable. You become unknown. And people don't know what to do with that. So they push back. They ask what's wrong. They tell you you're going through a phase. They remind you of who you used to be, who you really are, as if that's a fixed thing that you just temporarily forgot. And maybe you believe them. Maybe you think they're right. Maybe you decide that this discomfort, this pain of staying the same, is just something you need to push through. That if you just try harder, if you just commit more fully to being who you've always been, eventually it'll feel right again. But it won't, because you can't go backwards in consciousness. Once you've seen something, once you've recognized a pattern or understood a truth or outgrown a belief, you can't unsee it. You don't pretend you didn't. You can act like nothing changed, but internally, the shift already happened. And every moment you spend trying to undo, it just creates more friction, more pain, more exhaustion. There's this thing that happens in nature when something is ready to transform. A caterpillar doesn't gradually become a butterfly. It doesn't just grow wings while staying a caterpillar. It has to completely dissolve first. Inside the cocoon, it turns into liquid. Its structure breaks down entirely. And only then, only from that complete dissolution, does the new form emerge. And during that process, if you could ask the caterpillar how it feels, it probably wouldn't say it's transforming. It would probably say it's dying. Because from its perspective, everything it knew itself to be is disappearing. Its identity, its structure, its way of existing in the world is all gone. And it has no idea what's coming next. It just knows that what it was can't continue. Maybe that's where you are, in the dissolving, in the space where the old form doesn't work anymore, but the new form hasn't emerged yet. And it feels like dying because in a very real sense, it is. A version of you is dying. The you that made sense in your old life, in your old understanding, in your old level of consciousness. That you can't survive what's happening now, and you can fight it. You can try to hold that version together, keep it functioning, force it to keep going. But the cost is that pain, that constant, wearing, exhausting pain of being out of alignment with your own evolution. Because here's what nobody tells you about growth. It's not empowering. It's not exciting. It doesn't feel like leveling up or becoming your best self or any of those things you see in inspirational content. Most of the time, it feels like loss, like confusion, like not knowing who you are anymore, like everything you built your life on suddenly becoming questionable. And the mind interprets that as something going wrong. It thinks this discomfort means you made a mistake, took a wrong turn, need to get back on track. So it creates anxiety. It creates doubt. It creates all these stories about how you're failing or broken or lost. Because the mind's job is to maintain stability. And this dissolving of a known self is the opposite of stable. But consciousness isn't trying to maintain stability. Consciousness is trying to expand, to evolve, to move toward more truth, more awareness, more alignment with what actually is rather than what you wish was. And that process doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your plans or your identity or how hard you worked to become who you currently are. It just moves, and you can move with it or you can resist, but you can't stop it. So that pain you're feeling, that discomfort of not being able to stay the same, is not a problem to solve. It's information. It's your system telling you that evolution is happening whether you consciously participate or not. And the pain isn't the evolution itself. The pain is you try to prevent it. Think about a snake shedding its skin. When the old skin gets too tight, when it no longer fits the growing body underneath, it has to come off. And the snake doesn't try to keep the old skin. It doesn't mourn it or try to make it fit or worry about what it'll look like without it. It just sheds because staying in skin that doesn't fit would be more painful than the vulnerability of being temporarily exposed. But humans, we don't do that. We stay in the old skin. We stretch it, we patch it, we convince ourselves it still fits. We ignore the constriction, the limitation, the way it's literally preventing us from expanding. Because at least it's familiar. At least we know what we look like in it. At least other people recognize us. And all of that might be true, but it doesn't change the fact that you're growing. That something in you is expanding beyond the container you've been living in. And every day you try to compress yourself back into that container, it hurts more. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something impossible. You can't stay the same. Your cells won't stay the same. Your consciousness won't stay the same. Your understanding won't stay the same. The world around you won't stay the same. Everything is in motion, always, whether you acknowledge it or not. And the only choice you actually have is whether you move with it or exhaust yourself fighting against it. And maybe right now you're exhausted. Maybe you've been fighting for so long that you don't even remember what you're fighting for anymore. You just know that letting go feels like giving up, like admitting defeat, like losing something important. But what if it's not loss? What if it's release? What if the thing you're holding on is so tightly is exactly what's creating the pressure? What if the pain isn't coming from change, but from the refusal to change? There's no way to know for sure until you stop resisting, until you let whatever is trying to dissolve actually dissolve, until you stop forcing yourself to be someone you're not anymore and just exist in the uncertainty of not knowing who you are yet. And that is terrifying because uncertainty feels like chaos, like lack of control, like anything could happen and you have no way to prepare for it. The mind hates that. The mind wants a plan, a map, a clear path from here to there. It wants to know that if you let go of who you are, someone better is waiting on the other side. But consciousness doesn't give you that guarantee. It doesn't show you the next form before the current one dissolves. You have to let go first. You have to be willing to not know, to not be anyone for a while, to exist in that liquid state where everything you were is broken down and nothing new has solidified yet. And in that space, in that void between identities, the pain changes. It's no longer the pain of resistance. It's something else, something that feels almost like relief underneath the fear. Because you're finally not fighting. You're finally letting yourself be moved by something larger than your need for control. You're finally admitting what you already knew. You can't stay the same. You were never supposed to. And trying to is always going to hurt more than letting go. Because the hurt of transformation is temporary. It's the birth canal, not the destination. It's the necessary discomfort of moving from one state to another. But the hurt of staying the same, of resisting your own evolution, that pain is chronic. It's the constant background noise of misalignment. And it will stay with you for as long as you stay with a version of yourself that's already gone. So maybe the question isn't how to make the pain stop. Maybe the question is what you're willing to let die so something else can live. What identity, what belief, what version of yourself are you holding on to that no longer serves anything except your fear of the unknown? And maybe you don't have an answer yet. Maybe you're not ready to let go. Maybe the known pain still feels safer than the unknown transformation. And that's fine. That's where you are. But at least now you know what the pain is. At least now you understand that it's not random, not meaningless, not evidence that something is wrong with you. It's just your system telling you the truth. You're growing. You're changing. You're evolving whether you want to or not. And the only question that actually matters is whether you're going to participate consciously or whether you're going to keep resisting until the resistance breaks you. Because it will break eventually. The old form always does. The caterpillar always dissolves. The snake always sheds its skin. The question is just how much pain you create for yourself in the process. How long you fight what's already happening. How much energy you waste trying to stay the same in a reality that only moves forward. And when you finally stop fighting, when you finally let yourself be whatever you're becoming without trying to control it or understand it or make it make sense, something interesting happens. The pain doesn't disappear completely, but it shifts. It becomes less like suffering and more like growing pains. Less like something wrong and more like something inevitable. Because you're finally aligned with the process instead of at war with it. You're finally letting yourself change instead of forcing yourself to stay. And that alignment, that surrender to your own evolution, it doesn't make everything easy, but it makes it possible. It makes it survivable. It makes it something other than constant, exhausting resistance. You can't stay the same. And somewhere deep down, underneath all the fear and the attachment and the need for control, you already know that. You've known it for a while. The pain has been trying to tell you. The exhaustion has been trying to show you. The discomfort has been pointing you toward the only real option you have. Let go. Dissolve. Become nothing for a while so you can become something new. Not because it's comfortable, not because it's clear,